What is up, everybody? This is On the Topic of Video Games, episode 17, what it is. My name is Michael Nip. This is, as usual, my co-host, Drewby.
That was some subtle fade out there on the theme song, bro. Nice professional.
Yeah, I nailed it. In case you didn't notice, it's been a while since our last podcast. I actually feel refreshed. That was a nice break. But my voice was completely shot last week, so I was not able to do podcasting.
I was going to try to do something. At least we were kind of planning on it. And my backup, the co-host basically just kind of fell through. So it was just like, no, we're not going to do that this week. Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, so we're back this week. Thankfully, we played some video games. We could talk about those. Somebody asked us a question in the chat. I'll look that up. Or not in the chat, in the email. We also have a chat this week, if you happen to be listening live and are in it. So anyway, we'll start as we normally do with what we've been playing, and we'll start with you, Drewby. What have you been playing?
All right, well, 2 weeks since we've last recorded, roughly. I've actually played a couple new things that I'm going to talk about. New to me, not necessarily new that has just recently come out, because nothing's really coming out. I'll start with the Banner Saga. I started playing a little bit of that. If you haven't heard us talk about it on the show before, Michael has played it. It came out earlier this year, and is a strategy game with a story that plays like Oregon Trail. Does that sound like a healthy description?
Yeah, it's Oregon Trail, only instead of the hunting minigame, assume there is a tactics battle, like XCOM or Fire Emblem.
I did not realize that there was a hunting minigame. I obviously didn't.
Yeah, in Oregon Trail. You did not make it that far in our our experience with that game before it broke.
No. I played a little bit of that. That game is interesting. The story is not really nothing happy is really happening so far. It's kind of just like the cold north, and bad times are coming on, and I like it. I haven't played it for a while though. It's a game I think you might have to be in the mood, or you have to be ready to deal with the sadness and such. So, but that came out this year, and I started playing that. I picked it up, I think, during a Steam sale, and it's not bad. It's not bad.
It's on my top 5 games of the year.
Can you have 5 games that you've played this year that you have come out this year?
I have 5 games.
5 games that have come out.
If you keep talking, I can see. Yeah, I've definitely got 5 games that I've played. If you keep talking, I'll try to find the list wherever it is.
Okay, 5. All right, so clarify 5 games that have come out this year that you have played. You actually have played them. There's enough games that have come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been making a list. I try to keep up with my media consumption as far as things for the game of the year. So music and video games, and kind of reading and stuff. But I really haven't read. So.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that came out, and yeah, so I checked that out. If you're looking for something on the PC, I think it's worth it so far. I haven't, like I said, I think I'm only a couple hours in. Let me see here. It's in one of these here.
I have 7 games that have come out this year on my beat list.
Okay.
And it's Broken Age, Nidhogg, Banner Saga, Jazzpunk, Infamous Second Son, Dark Souls 2, and Mario Golf World Tour.
I forgot about that Telltale game. Broken Age.
Broken Age? Yep.
Yeah. That was the thing.
Broken Age is a Double Fine game.
Not Telltale. Yes.
Yeah, Telltale's Walking Dead Season 2. That's what they're doing right now. And Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and I don't know. They're working on a lot of stuff.
That
Wolf
one
Among
game,
Us.
Wolf Among Us, yeah. According to Steam, I've got about 2 hours in to Banner Saga, so I've just kind of dabbed in a little bit. I'm not super, super far, but I like it. Let's see what else. Oh! So, this morning, during my morning dump, I was checking my email, and I came across... I'm going to, for the sake of the story, we'll just go with the fact that it was my morning dump. I don't know when, but it was sometime this morning. I realized I got an email from Nintendo basically saying that the Super Smash Bros. Demo was out for the 3DS, not Wii U, 3DS. And so I went out, and I think it's been available since the 19th of this month. And so I downloaded that demo, and then I had to go to the repair shop, the car shop, to get something done to my truck. And so I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and I whooped out and played some Super Smash Brothers on the 3DS. That game is a Super Smash Brothers game. It plays like a Super Smash Brothers game. It felt like a Super Smash Brothers game. I think the difference is that they've added maps and characters, and that's about it. If you want to.
How many characters are selectable in the game, in the demo?
All right. Well, there's 3 that you can choose from that are normally. I think there's 5 total, but there are 3. The 3 normal ones are you've got Mario, Link, and Pikachu. The characters that you can also select from are the villager from that one. Oh man, Animal Crossing.
No.
Is it not Animal
Is it
Crossing?
Animal Crossing, or are you talking about? No. Wait. What does he look like?
He's a little
It could be
dude.
Animal Crossing, or it could be Harvest Moon.
I think it might be Harvest Moon. And then a little cartoon character like that. He's got like an umbrella, and then Mega Man. Those are the 5 characters that you can play as. I was playing around with that. There's only one map that you can select, and I think it's a new map, but it's very similar to other maps. You might as well just call it a reskin. But I played several matches of that, and it was a Super Smash Brothers game. I'm not very good at Super Smash Brothers games. I found the controls I was having a little bit hard time with. It took me X and Y are both jump buttons. A and B
That's straight up from GameCube.
Was X okay.
Yep.
A and B are your attack buttons. Your D-pad just is not movement at all. It's like what do you want to call it? Like your taunt.
Cheap Smash, right? Oh, okay, taunt.
Yeah, it's like your taunt.
In the GameCube, you could use the C stick as your cheap way to pull off a smash.
Okay. I think I did that a lot. And then you get the stick on the 3DS is just your movement. There's some new things in there, based on some new items. One of them was an item that you throw it out and it does something random. One of them is it throws out, I think his name is Bow Wow, the dog on the chain, and he'll go around and if he's on a chain, so if you get close to him, he'll like hurt you. There was a
like a chain chomp from Mario, or like a real dog.
Chain chomp. What's his name? It's
Chain chomp.
It's the black circle with with open thing that you want to avoid on the Mario Kart. On the Mario Kart, I was okay. Anyway, there's that. I don't see. I was having and I don't know how much this probably just speaks to me being not very good at Super Smash Brothers, but I was having a hard time trying to figure out the different move sets on some of the characters to try and figure out what I could and couldn't do. I thought I should be able to do a lot more than what I was doing, but maybe not. It just are there generally that many?
Given there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only like 8 moves for each character. Yeah, like 8 moves for each character.
Okay, so maybe I was getting close then.
Basically, you have A and B, and then all of the directions of A and B. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I guess I was playing, but yeah, I think that that gave the element for that game where it's going to be a lot more enjoyable is going to be in the multiplayer. I haven't played really a lot of single player except for maybe Melee. I barely played any Brawl, except when I would come over to your place. And now my brothers have it, so we play that a little. We play that sometimes, but Melee is kind of where I really got into Super Smash. I played a little bit of the 64. Um, it. So I guess we'll just play that when it comes out. Here's an interesting point about the demo. You can. It's open for the 3DS. You just go to the eShop store and you can just download it straight. You get 30 uses. Is what that comes with.
Yeah, that's the same. That's what all the demos on Nintendo's eStore do. It's really weird and dumb.
It is really dumb. So once you launch the game, I guess 30 times, you're done and you can't download. So I think that's pretty stupid. So I mean, I don't play my 3DS enough to like switch between applications, so I can just like shut it and leave it on in the program itself. And I don't think hopefully that won't count as a launch, I guess. But I thought that was different. I think I'd heard about that from on a podcast.
Yeah, it's a weird way of doing limiting demo usage.
I will say there was one weapon that I did use that was I think it was moving sideways, and if you get the enemy caught on it, they will get stuck on it, and it basically just takes them off the map. And the villager has that as like a built-in item. Like that's something I think he can automatic. Well, it doesn't take him off the map, but he's got like a rocket that he like shoots at him. Link's throwing tornadoes. I mean, it's your move sets.
Boomerangs.
Well, it's a boomerang surrounded by a tornado. You might as well just call it a tornado.
You got to get it right because I'm sure that we have Zelda fans that will flip out if you say you can throw tornadoes.
Okay, fine. So how does it? All right, fine. I'll just drop it. He can throw his boomerang.
It's just a wind boomerang. Don't try to understand the logic of a Zelda game. They are kind of people that like them are crazy people. As someone that likes them, I could say that.
Okay. All right. And then the third game that I want to talk about, I played a little bit. Is the second DLC, Burial at Sea. I guess it's the third one for Bioshock Infinite. Right before the show, I was playing.
That is Bioshock Infinite. You got really Skypey.
Oh, weird. Let's check my stuff real quick. Bioshock Infinite. They released 2 extra story DLCs, Burial Sea and 1 and 2. And I've played 1, and I am playing through 2 right now, and I like it. I'm having fun with it. You played the Burial at Sea #1, right?
Yeah, I finished the first DLC for that, or that DLC, I guess.
And did you like it?
I liked it. I thought it was good. I did not think it was spectacular, but it was definitely. I mean, it was fun. I recommend you play it if you like the main game.
Okay. This game it plays differently. So in the Burial Seal, when you play as Booker, who is the main protagonist from the guy you play as in Bioshock Infinite. In this game, you play as Elizabeth, who is you're kind of like your co-op partner in Bioshock Infinite and in Burial at Sea, who's kind of helping you out with those. And you play as Elizabeth. The gameplay they changed it up. It's a lot more stealth now. So when you come into a room and there's a bunch of guys, one of the first weapons you get is basically a bow and arrow that shoots tranq darts. So you put people to sleep. And you navigate the rooms that way. You have your claw hook that you had from the first game, Skyhook from the first game, and I believe you had it in the first part.
You do.
The DLC as well. Mm-hmm. You have that, and so you can sneak up on people and then press Y, and you'll knock them out. You won't kill them or anything. You'll just knock them out, and they'll just sleep. You can hear them snore. You have pistols. You have a pistol, a shotgun. There's one weapon that I have that you're able to shoot through walls and fry people, and once you fry them, like it'll turn them into a bomb and they'll explode and hurt other people around them. I haven't been able to get that one to work, and I ran out of ammo on it, and I haven't run into a refill. So, ammo is scarce and money is scarce. kind of like the original Bioshock games, but being Bioshock, not Bioshock Infinite. When you're stealthing around in a room, sneaking around, and you're trying to either sneak up behind somebody or just get through it, you have to be careful where you're walking. You have to kind of pay attention to some of that stuff because in certain places there's water, and if you walk through the water, it'll draw attention because when you're walking through it makes noise. Also, there'll be broken glass in certain places, and if you try to walk through that, you'll crack the glass and it'll hear that. And so there's a larger stealth element in this DLC than there has been in the other Bioshock. This is probably the most stealth out of all of the Bioshocks. I haven't played Bioshock 2, but I think that might be a fair statement.
Do you think that works for it?
I think it does. It's not so tedious. The part that you really is a problem is that your ammo doesn't really do a whole lot. Like I'll sit there and I'll peg them with like my revolver, and it'll take multiple shots to kill a guy. And I've only got 6 in the chamber and 6 in for a reload, and that's it. That's the max I can carry. So it emphasizes it's much preferable if you can just stealth through it. The only one-shot kill I think that I've seen is if like they get really close and you just like straight up like shoot them with the shotgun. That'll be a one-shot kill. The gameplay is fine.
Common in games that punish you for not being stealth to become frustrating. Does it feel that way, or does it feel okay, even with the getting sighted and not being able to kill enemies well?
I don't know that it's the part that I've gotten frustrated with is the combat. At one point, I was dying, and I was having some part in one room. When I got home from the car shop, I had to go. When I got home from that trip this afternoon, I went. I opened it up, and I was having some problems. I kept loading. Because I kept dying, where I picked up from my save, and I didn't really. It was frustrating, but it's something that I could have avoided, and it was really just because I can't really get into too much combat, and you need to stay more sneaky. The combat works, and it is possible, but it is a lot harder because weapons and ammo are so scarce. Later on as well, there are guys with helmets, and so like you can't sneak up behind them and hit them because they have a helmet, I guess. So that saves them. I haven't gotten super frustrated with it. No, I think it's well designed. Is that element? I wouldn't say it's the best stealth game I've played, but it works for the game. The main thrust of the DLC, I think, is probably. I don't know if you call it the main thrust, but the story of it and the narrative that they're playing is interesting. I've been out of Bioshock Infinite, and it's been a while since I played Burial at Sea, the first part, for a while. And so coming back into this again, it's nice to kind of play this again. It's picking up. The story gets a little, I won't say crazy, but it's definitely interesting in the narrative that they're telling, and the implications of what is actually going on. I will say this: that at one point you do go back to Colombia.
Okay.
So I don't want to say too much without spoiling it, because if you've played Bioshock Infinite, this DLC I think is better than the first Burial at Sea. And if you just play through this to Burial at Sea, because it'll help you fill in the blanks, and then get to this part, I think so far from what I've played, it's a nice cap. I've probably put about 3 to 4 hours into it so far. I think I'm coming up closer to the end. There's one part on it that was legitimately scary. Like you walk, there's these machines around the city and Rapture that you can look into, and it tells you like the story. There were some of those in Bioshock Infinite, and one of them, the one that I was looking to in this specific room, was like it was this creepy voice, and it was like talking. I don't remember who was talking, and then it's just like look behind you or something like that. And I was playing in a completely dark room, and I'm just like a little bit tense, and I'm like I'm not gonna look behind me. But then I turned around on my character, and like there's this like weird thing. There's this weird thing behind me, and it was effective for me. But I scare kind of easily.
Did you pee your pants?
I did not pee my pants. So that's
okay.
That's a plus.
I guess that works.
The DLC, I think it's like $15 or something like that. I bought the season pass. I recommend it. I'm having fun with it, and I'd probably be playing it right now if I wasn't doing this show. So, do you have any questions about it? Is there anything that you're curious about? Are you going to pick it up and play it?
I probably will, which is why I don't want to ask too much. I asked a couple things about the stealth. I don't want to know anything about the story because I will probably play through it. It does sound more interesting as you're playing as Elizabeth, and I have heard it was better than the first one, which, like I said, is not bad. It's just it didn't hold up to the amazing regular game, and so it's just kind of a letdown for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to talk about it, to go into it more, but if you haven't played it, you need to play it, especially Bioshock Infinite. And even if you haven't played Bioshock Infinite, it's a hardcore. It's an M-rated shooter, but the story is one of my favorite stories. Like it's so cool. One of my favorite games of all time, Bioshock Infinite. So check it out and then play through these DLCs, Burial at Sea 1 and the one I'm playing, Burial at Sea 2.
TheCultureMyPeople.com's 2013 Game of the Year.
Great game. Did it? That came out last year.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Last year, and it was not even really debated on whether that would be our Game of the Year or not. It was just kind of accepted. Mm-hmm. Did argue other things. That was not one of them.
Yeah.
I still say Rogue Legacy should have been in the top 5. The game's really good.
I've got that game in my Steam library. Maybe I'll play it sometime.
I recommend you play it on Vita. It's I bet it's great on Vita.
If I buy it on Vita, I think it's cross-buy, so I'll be able to play it on the PS4.
Yeah, I could see you getting turned away because it starts off really hard, like really hard.
Like Super Meat Boy hard?
It kind of. I mean, it's a different kind of hard. But basically, you are expected to die within like the first 2 rooms for like multiple deaths. So yeah, I mean it's a very tough game. I don't think it's as hard as Super Meat Boy or anything, but I recommend that game if you haven't played it.
Well, you beat Rogue Legacy, so.
I did. I beat Rogue Legacy and I also beat Super Meat Boy. So I recommend both those games.
I didn't remember.
I did beat Super Meat Boy. That's something I did, I believe, this year. Achievement unlocked.
Life achievements.
Yeah, that's a tough game. I do not blame people that do not beat that game. Like, there's a lot of games that I think that people, if you start, you really should see it to the end because they're really good. And I'm not saying this isn't good to the end, but I completely understand if you do not have the commitment to finish Super Meat Boy. That is a rough game, and I don't think it was intended to be beaten by everyone that plays it. I really don't think that was the way it was designed. I think it was designed to only be beaten by those people that can choose to engage with its more masochistic elements.
The developers are like, you know what? We don't care if anyone sees this game. If you beat this game, you're gonna be like for the few. The very few people.
Yeah, I think it's like Dark Souls. Like, they wanted it to have a certain reward for beating it, so they intentionally made it so not everyone can. So when you do beat it, you can say, "Hey, I did this. This was the thing that." It wasn't like beating Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, where like it's a pretty easy standard campaign, especially because you can lower the difficulty if you want to see it. They wanted it to be special. Like, hey, I freaking had to work my butt off to get through this level, and not everyone can say that.
You think that's why Super Meat Boy is so difficult? That's why they made it so difficult, is to make it rewarding at the end?
I have heard the developers say so on interviews before.
Okay.
They wanted to make it like a grown man's Mario with the kind of reward that comes with beating something so hard.
Because Mario's super hard.
The original Marios are a lot harder than the modern Marios, and maybe your modern Marios are harder. But once you figure out the Mario mechanics, they are definitely not as hard as a Super Meat Boy.
I have the original Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario on my 3DS for Virtual Console, and that game is challenging. It's not easy. I don't.
No, that's the first one. The first one's really hard, also because things don't necessarily work as you would expect them to. Like collision detection is kind of broken, so some of that stuff is weird.
I've got save states on that card, so that like I've got like to the second world or something like that, and you can't save in the game, but you can in the Virtual Console you can just save the state, and so that's how I've got that on my 3DS. That'll help me.
Generally, I recommend against save states because they are sort of a cheat, but I had to use save states to beat Mega Man 1 because screw that last boss. That is ridiculous. And that's mainly the only place I used them, but I had to. It was rough.
Yeah. So video games.
The last boss of Mega Man is the one where you start on one side and you're fighting a goo man and he's on the other side, and like you shoot him a couple times and then he like single piece by piece flies over to the other side and you have to dodge him. And the original Mega Man does not have great platforming mechanics, and it's seriously hard. And he follows a pattern, but it's a pattern that even if you know it, it's hard to nail. So I think I beat that game when I was on vacation once, but man, that was rough.
I was gonna ask if you actually did beat it. Beat that last boss.
I mean, I cheated, but I did beat it. So did you play anything else, or are we switching to the stuff I played?
I'm continuing to play Smart As. That's the brain kind of game for the Vita.
Do you feel yourself becoming smarter?
Well, my results are getting better. Like I got really good for a little bit, and then like now my scores are like down. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that I feel like might be getting sharper, but that could just be my brain playing tricks, saying, look at this game. You're obviously getting smarter, or you're getting quicker at doing this. I will say that my logic.
Are you getting better at the game, or do you feel like you're quicker in real life?
I think I might be getting better at the game.
You say your logic's feeling better?
My logic is getting better. That was a real struggle at first. Now, I don't know if struggle is the right word. I was not scoring well, and now I am scoring somewhat decently. So there you go.
Did you play the Logical Journey of the Zoom Meanies, the game my wife is playing?
I think we've talked about that before.
I liked it, man. Yeah, it's a good learning game.
Old PC game.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Broderbund because they made a lot of edutainment back in the day, and I think they nailed a lot of games. Like, there's a lot of games that were both educational and also fun, which I think is a very hard combination to make. I think some games like Reader Rabbit didn't always nail that because they were basically presenting math problems to you, and when you know you're doing math problems, it's not fun. But there was some great games back in the day. I don't know if they still make them that I played and was able to learn a lot from while still having fun and not realizing, that I was learning at the time. And I think that's a really awesome achievement for them to pull off.
Did you play that game on Windows 95?
I played some of those games on Windows 95. I think that game specifically I played on Windows 98. But yeah, old school.
Old school.
Ooh, I kind of want that disc from you. If I could get that installed on some computer, we might be able to get some Oregon Trail running. I don't know how we'd record it though.
Virtual box that.
Yeah, we could virtual box that and then try that. It's hard to get old games to play, man. I had a hard time getting Zubinis to work, and then I found out that there's actually just a version of the game that was released for modern Windows, and that's what we ended up using.
Yeah, I've got a game that I would like to go back and play. Star Wars Rebel Assault. I played it, but it won't.
It's like work. RTS, right?
No, it is a rail shooter.
Oh, nice.
So, no, it's
rail
no
shooter
TIE Fighter.
On the PC.
It's no TIE Fighter.
Have you played TIE Fighter?
No, but I wouldn't mind if I did.
Yeah, that game looks kind of fun. Anyway, is that pretty much your list?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got. I didn't really play much on the PS4. So yeah, I think we'll just go on. What you have been playing?
Okay, so I'm gonna mainly skip over my WoW stuff because a lot of our audience doesn't play that. Except to say that I am now in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. I have moved on to Northrend, so I'm progressing on my orc character on my way to the new expansion. I'll probably talk about the new expansion when it comes out, just because it's new. But I'm still rolling along there, having fun. Still enjoying the game, playing it mostly every morning when I wake up before work. But today, the WoW servers were down, so I launched a game that I saw on our sister site Giant Bomb called Always Sometimes Monsters, which is a game that was pretty clear to me as someone who's done a little bit of work in RPG Maker that is made with RPG Maker, and it was it's I don't know what the genre is, I guess. Maybe RPG, but it's not like a normal RPG. It plays basically the same way as To the Moon, which is to say it's like a 16-bit grid-based game. I mean, they were both made with RPG Maker. That makes sense. And you walk around and you basically interact with different things. And you have there's a couple different things you can do. This sheet actually here that I'm holding is something that I was writing down, so I was able to keep track of stuff because I'm going to go ahead and say it. So at the beginning of the game, know that this is a mature game, so I do not recommend it to people that are not able to play this stuff because there's a lot of language and some sexual themes and drug use. The game starts off, and I don't know what the heck was happening, but there were two people in an alley, and they were yelling at each other, and they were going to kill each other, and then someone comes up and tries to kill them, and it's all like dark and ominous, and I don't think you're supposed to know what's happening at that point. And then it goes to one of the guys that tries to shoot the other guy at the beginning of the game starts telling a story to the guy he's about to shoot. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's relevant. So you play a character, and okay, so I don't know if this is universal because there's so many different characters that you can pick from at the start of the game, and there's so many different characters you can pick to be their significant other. But at least in the way that I chose it, I picked a character that ended up being an author, and she got a deal signed. And she was all happy, and she was with her boyfriend, and then the game skips to 1 year later, and everything in your life has gone to pot, you have no money, and you just get evicted from your apartment. And so it's super sad. Like, the game is called Always Sometimes Monsters. It's not like a supernatural game at this point. I think it's being semi-heavy-handed about the fact that people can be monsters, and like, everyone is sometimes terrible. And so you are just a girl that's super down on her luck, and you're trying to make enough money at this point to be able to get your stuff out of your apartment because the guy took your key and he won't give it back. And at the same time, you find out the guy that you were in love with is getting married, and so you're trying to raise enough money to get your stuff and then somehow go see him. And you're a person living a really kind of sucky life at the point. And so I got about an hour into that game. I thought it was going to be like a 4-hour deal, but it looks like it's 8 to 10 hours on how long to beat. So that could be cool. I could update my progress with that game. But yeah, like there's a lot of language in that game. There's uh, already been multiple instances of drug usage and stuff. So that is it is an M-rated game. Another game that I've been playing, which I believe is also M-rated, yeah, it has to be, is a game I have mentioned on the podcast multiple times that I wanted to play. It is called Danganronpa. Trigger Happy Havoc. It is a Japanese visual novel, and it is, I mean, it's exactly what I wanted when I decided to pick it up. Visual novels are, I think we talked about it. I tried to monologue about it when we were having issues last podcast, but basically you do a lot of reading, which is why they're called novels, and there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of story that happens, and they're crazy. Like the only one, I mean, I guess Phoenix Wright falls into that category. I've played a little bit of one of those on the 3DS, and then I've also played 999 and Virtue's Last Reward, which are also visual novels. And like I said last year, 999 has reached one of my favorite games of all time status. It's a really, really good game. And VLR has the craziest ending I've seen in a video game.
Question: is Professor Layton? Are those visual novels?
I think Professor Layton may be considered a visual novel, though I think it has more puzzle elements than your average visual novel. There's not a ton of gameplay. Well, I guess there's some puzzles and stuff like 999. I don't know. It might be. I haven't actually played Professor Layton, but
okay.
I've seen a lot more puzzles in Professor Layton than in some of the others that I've played. Anyway, so the setup for Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc is that you are going to a school that is a school for the ultimates. That is the people that are best at something. So there are 15 kids, and there's like the ultimate baseball player and the ultimate pop star and the ultimate swimming champion. So there's 15 kids, and they're all the best at something. You're playing a character that you don't know what your thing is, and you find out shortly into the game, it's not that big of a spoiler, that you're the ultimate lucky person, because basically you just got picked at random from all the kids in the world, and so they've decided that you're lucky. And you're going to the school. It's supposed to be awesome. Basically, everyone that comes out of the school is guaranteed to have success, and like it's a very prestigious thing and a very special thing. And you show up at the school, and your character passes out, and that's where it gets a little Japanese, because when you wake, you're in the school with the 14 other kids, and a bear that is, I guess remote controlled, though I don't know if it's like a bear that looks very weird.
Like an animal bear, or like a stuffed like teddy bear.
Like a teddy bear, I guess.
I think that's.
But he's really creepy looking.
I think that's what I kind of assumed, but to clarify for our audience.
Yes, like a teddy bear. He's very creepy looking. Half of his face is angry, and half of his face is happy. And he informs you that this is now the place is supposed to be called Hope's Peak Academy. He says this is actually Despair Academy, and he says that like the goal of the school is to put you into despair, and you can't leave. You're not allowed to leave. The windows are all boarded. The doors are all locked. You are completely unable to get out. And the bear's plan is to make all 15 of you live there forever. And there's no way to ever graduate from the school. And then he informs you that there is one way to graduate, and that is to murder another student and get away with it. So he right away gives you this rule, and he gives you a couple sets of rules, like you cannot break. I can't remember the initial set of rules. They change a little bit as you go on, but basically you can't attack the bear, whose name is Monokuma. That's one of the rules. And if you do, bad things happen. Basically, the punishment for any breaking of any rules is death. So you can't do that. And there's a couple other rules. But nevertheless, he gives you instigation, because what happens is The only way to graduate is to kill someone, and if you kill someone, you have to get away with it because if the class finds out that you kill them in what is called a class trial, which is held after every death, you die, and your punishment for the murder. If the class does not find out and you get away with the murder, you will successfully graduate and every single one of your classmates dies. So, I mean, it's supposed to be this disparaging thing. What happens throughout the game is whenever nobody's murdering each other, the bear will come and give some kind of motive that is supposed to instigate murder. So, it's kind of dark and kind of super Japanese and weird, and I really like it so far. I think I'm just now reaching what is to be the end stretch. Excuse me. So I don't want to get into spoiler territory in case someone here were to somehow play that someday, even though it's on a Vita, which I know nobody owns. The second Danganronpa came out this year. So the first one came out at the beginning of the year. The second one came out just recently, like a couple months ago. And there's a third one already coming out in Japan now. They're dropping these games super fast. Which I guess kind of makes sense. Anyway, what I'm talking about is during the murder sequences, the class trials after someone is murdered, you have to go and investigate the murder. And the reason that I think this is super cool is they give you the ability to figure out the case for yourself using the clues that you find. And in many instances, you can actually figure out the mystery. And I know that we've been on record, I think on one of our shows before, talking about how we wished games like Batman would allow you to use your detective mode to kind of solve the crime yourself instead of just giving you a flashing light and then immediately telling you what happened. I mean, with Danganronpa, what happens is you gather all the evidence and then you go into court and you're trying to figure out, specifics of, okay, where was this person at this time? And you're using the clues that you found to both offer suggestions on what your things are, and then also, if you catch someone, there's a mode called Endless Debate, where your main goal is to take the evidence that you have and contradict what somebody's saying. So you're listening to what people are saying. When they say something contradicts the evidence that you know to be true, you then are able to attack that statement, and it proves them wrong, and then the case moves forward. I don't think that mechanic is done super well, but the idea is obviously novel and cool. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't think it's a perfect game, especially because some of the weird mini games that revolve around the court sequences are weird, and then also sometimes you get to the point where it's just I just want to see the story. I don't want to do there's sections of the game where you kind of have free time when nobody's doing anything crazy that you can just go talk to other people. And near the end of the game, you're just I don't really give a crap about, that this person really likes donuts. I want to find out what's happening in the school. So, I'm not saying it's a perfect game, but it's what I wanted, and it is a great visual novel for people that may want to check that out if you happen to have a Vita, which is a rarity. But yeah, that's really good. I like it.
The visual novel stuff, you said despite the evidence stuff, that system presenting the evidence in the court, that whole thing is not broken well. That seems like that would be probably one of the main draws for someone like me, because that sounds kind of cool. When I was younger, Phoenix Wright was kind of interesting to me. I kind of wanted that game, but I never actually got it. You said you played a Phoenix Wright game. Is the system of evidence gathering or the court, does that system work better in Phoenix Wright or Danganronpa?
I think it's just kind of similar. The problem with both games that I've seen so far is you can gather evidence and you can figure out a lot of things for yourself, and especially because you're able to do that, when you get into a courtroom scenario, what happens is if you get into an endless debate where you're supposed to prove someone's logic, which is kind of the main thing that you're doing, you are listening to someone try to figure something out, and you're looking for their specific sequences that will light up that you can target, and you are looking for the one that you know to be wrong. The problem that happens is sometimes you don't know which evidence to use correctly. Like sometimes, you have a death report of the person that died, and that has some of the information that you use to figure something out, so you don't know whether to use the death report as proof, or you don't know whether you should use, some other thing as proof that you figured out, like even though they're the same thing. And then there's also the fact that like you may have already figured out enough into the future of the case that it gets really annoying when like you are trying to prove somebody's on something wrong that you know is stupid, and like you've seen the evidence to prove that it's stupid, and you're just trying to look for the one inconsistency that is wrong so you can prove it, even though like if you were at that place you would just be like, shut up, here's all I got. Like whatever you're talking about is so low level compared to like the evidence that we already have at this point. We're figuring out something way more complicated. Like for instance, this is a Japaneseism. There is a time when you think that a character has been murdered and they are alive. And so when the person shows up, the first half, not the first half, the first section of the court is to prove to one character that this character is not a ghost and in fact that they are alive, even though they're standing right there. And like you're like, we need to move past this. Like, obviously she's alive. She's not a ghost. We're not idiots. We're like, even in this game, we have established there's not supernatural things happening. Let's move past this and try to figure out what actually happened, because clearly this person is not dead. They're alive.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's some anime-isms that you got to deal with. Yeah. Worth mentioning because we talked about this a little bit. This is another game that very, very poorly shows a gamer, basically. We talked about this because Infamous Second Son basically portrays the only gamer in the game as being like this lonely person that doesn't have any friends, that never goes outside, and all he ever does is play his equivalent of World of Warcraft. The character in this game is obsessed with fan fiction and comics, and doesn't have any friends, and is super fat, and cannot hold a logical conversation, and has no life skills at all. It's another like whenever video game. It's such a weird juxtaposition because the types of people that they're catering to are the very same types of people that they seem to be stereotyping in the worst ways possible.
Okay.
It's like Gamergate before Gamergate.
I don't know that I'd call it Gamergate, but okay. We talked about this a little bit. I can't really think of an example where this doesn't happen.
Yeah, if you're a video game that has a character in the game that plays video games, where is an instance where they are portrayed as like functional human beings who also really enjoy video games? And I cannot think of an instance.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic to dive into, to psychoanalyze why is that game developers, people who are probably like enjoy video games but are probably also not necessarily socially awkward, why they portray their game characters like that.
And for the sake of diving too deep into the actual issue of Gamergate, I say we can change the subject because I can make that call on this show. We don't have to be too controversial.
You want to talk about Gamergate? Okay. How about we talk about...
No, I don't want to talk about Gamergate. We can talk about some big news that hit today.
Yeah, there was some big news. If you've been following Blizzard for the last 7 to 8 years or whatever, they were announced that they were working on an
MMO?
Their next MMO project that was going to happen after World of Warcraft. And this was codenamed Titan was the name of the project. And this is just kind of something that's been kind of lurking in the shadows. Hasn't really hit media what this thing is. Today, in an interview with Polygon, Blizzard announced that they have canceled Project Titan, their next MMO, and that they're they're done with it. They decided that it wasn't something that they wanted to do, and so they canned the project. And what they had, they're going to focus their resources into something else. This is kind of a little disappointing for me. I was hoping for a new MMO type of thing from Blizzard could be something awesome, whether or not, and even if it wasn't necessarily genre defining, it's cool to have kind of more content out there like this, and something. And if it, I guess I kind of had a presupposition for some reason that I guess maybe with the name Titan that it was going to be some like space thing, and
it was advertised as a basically something that might contend with Destiny. Only the theory would be that it would be more expansive than what Destiny ultimately ended up being.
Okay. So that was kind of a little disappointing for me. Their reasoning, I guess you can't really argue. They say it wasn't in the article, and you can go and check it out, Polygon.com. That it wasn't necessarily fun, and it wasn't something that they wanted to do, and so they chose to go into their market. And them as businessmen, that is their right to do. However, as a gamer, as a content consumer, it would have been nice to have seen where that project might have gone or what it was looking like.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is I'm glad that they did not put out something that could have been potentially lucrative, that their heart wasn't behind. I like when game developers are able to be passionate about the things that they're making. The other thing is they have an example of a very successful MMO that was very genre defining and special when it came out, and I don't think they wanted to put out something that would compete with their own game, because Titan would compete with WoW on some level, even if it were a different genre. People that are Blizzard fans tend to be Blizzard fans, so they would at least try that out. But secondarily, like, if they didn't have anything special to put into the game, I'm glad that they decided to use that money elsewhere instead of spending and have it potentially go wrong and be worse in the long run. The weird thing about this is that it's been in development for 7 years. What that actually means, like the amount of money and time spent on that, I don't know. But it does seem to be a big move to cancel a game after 7 years of development, even if it were, a dude. That's enough money that it's quite a big deal when you completely can it. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's worth noting. I didn't think it. As someone that really does like Blizzard games, I'm not gonna say the idea wasn't interesting to me, but I do prefer when they focus on their Warcraft stuff, and I'm not saying this would have been related to StarCraft somehow, but I like StarCraft too, so that wouldn't have been that big of a deal. The thing I am excited about is that they said that because of their success with Hearthstone, which is a smaller game, which they are also making a lot of money on, they said that they're going to be willing to take more risk with smaller games, which, as I'm sure we've mentioned on the show before, I am all for developers spending less money to try more risky things. That way, if it does fail, they're not out that much, and they can hit the market with newer ideas or smaller projects. So the idea that Blizzard may put out something smaller more often is very enticing to me as someone that does like Blizzard's. I like Hearthstone, I like Diablo, I like StarCraft, I like World of Warcraft. I really like the Warcraft strategy series as well. So I think it'd be awesome to see what they come out with.
Yeah, but how long are they just gonna ride these stories? I mean, wouldn't it be nice to see something new for a change? To see Blizzard actually try something else? I mean, they've got Diablo, they've got Warcraft, and they've got StarCraft, and that's it. There's 3 different stories. It would be nice to see them come out with something different, instead of just kind of just playing it safe and comfortably on the titles that they've already gotten invested in. They've already got set up. I mean, it just seems kind of just smart from I guess an investor standpoint, but I'd like to see something different. I'd like to see something new.
I do agree that I think it would be cool to see them do something completely brand new from the bottom up. But I do not have a problem with them using their existing franchises that are already successful to make new experiences. For instance, they had the Warcraft strategy series. When they made WoW, that was a big deal and a big departure and a big risk and a big cool thing. Which, like I said, they're kind of avoiding the big risk and stuff. But basically, yes, World of Warcraft and Warcraft exist in the same world and they use a lot of the same lore, but clearly they made a different game with World of Warcraft. And Hearthstone is based on Warcraft lore as well, but that is clearly a different game. So I mean, if they want to save some, if they want to kind of have a little bit of safety there, especially with investors, and they want to use existing franchises to make new gameplay experiences, yes, I prefer it. I prefer it a little bit less, potentially, depending on whether I like the story or not, which I do for all three of those. Yeah, it would be kind of cool to have something brand new, but if they're going to make new gameplay experiences, I will take that in a heartbeat over just, the average, especially Activision strategy, which is just to kind of release the same thing with very little iteration. I'm willing for them to, stick a Diablo face on another game and see what that looks like.
Yeah, but Blizzard is. I feel like they're just playing it safe at this point, and they're just kind of lazy. And I'd like to see a little bit more, especially from someone as big as Blizzard. I think that they can. I think that they can afford to do something like that.
Do you think Hearthstone was lazy?
I think that it was something they got lucky on. I don't know
what that means, though.
I think that it was a project that some guys were just kind of playing around with, and then they were like, "Oh, that seems cool," and then they said, "Oh, this will work for really good," and then they made it into a full-fledged game. I wasn't necessarily.
But isn't that what all games are?
Blizzard. It was just Blizzard wasn't going out trying to find something new. Some guys were just playing around and just playing around. It wasn't the company investing and saying, okay, guys, what's new? What's something we can do? It's just something that they found that some of their employees were working on. They're like, oh, okay, we'll just take this idea.
So that's semi-fair, I guess. But one thing worth noting is Blizzard recently, or even for the last 15 years, have not been people that are the best at pure
creativity.
What's the word for? No, yeah, but there's a specific word that I'm looking for. Innovation. Blizzard has not been the best at innovation for a long time. However, Blizzard is very, very, very good at iteration. I believe that Diablo right now is the best action RPG on the market. I personally think I could defend World of Warcraft being the best MMO on the market. When World of Warcraft came out, it was not the only MMO. It was in a less crowded space, I will admit. But what it did was it took the ideas of MMOs that already existed and just made them the best. And I think that's what it's continued to do. I think some people could argue that StarCraft is not the best strategy game, but clearly it is. It's got to be balanced to heck because it is a big esports game, like really, really big competitive scene. So as someone that isn't great in the RTS scene, I can't speak wholly for that. But the ways that Diablo has taken the core basics of the action RPG genre, which I do think it innovated a lot when it made Diablo 2, especially Diablo 1. They have just iterated the crap out of that game to where, especially recently when a lot of people have been playing Destiny, they're like, well, I'd rather just play Diablo. Because Diablo is probably the best action RPG that is out there right now. So, and I would argue that Hearthstone is one of the best, card games out there. So yes, I would agree with you that it would be nice if a developer that has the kind of money that Activision Blizzard has, especially because they're bankrolling from World of Warcraft and Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it would be awesome if they would do something completely new, and I will not disagree with that. But if they want to take a genre, let's say they want to take a first-person shooter, and they just want to make the best first-person shooter, or they want to take, an open world something and make the best of that, I'm also okay with that. Like if a company is going to actually iterate in a way that is, real iteration, as opposed to what, Madden says that it does every year when it adds a couple new features and calls it iteration. If they are actually going to take something and really, really overhaul specific functions to make it the best, yes, I will agree. It may be a little bit lazy, but I'm okay with it. I think it's worth companies iterating on ideas in actual iterative ways instead of calling it iteration when it's really just a cash grab. I don't think that Blizzard just... I would disagree if you think that Blizzard just cash grabs. I really do think that they work to make the products that they're putting out some of the best in those genres, which I understand why you called that lazy at one point. But at the same time, I don't think they're just money grabbing. I think they are really earning the prestige that they're kind of getting in those genres.
3 points, 3 things I want to say. First off, to say that Hearthstone was just developed by employees and not actually like a Blizzard think tank, I don't know that, so I could very well be wrong. Just keep that in mind. Blizzard could have been trying to do that. Secondly, this could be sourced. My kind of distaste for this could be the source from the fact that the stuff that they make is not necessarily my type of game anyway to begin with, and I could just be feeling left out, and that's where my dissension could be coming from. That's totally a thing. And if Blizzard just wants to do that, okay, then I just need to just not expect that from them. I really
They've
like...
got a fan base, that's for sure.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You know what? With the subscriber base of World of Warcraft, you mentioned the esports that they're getting out of StarCraft, and then Diablo. Lots of people are playing Diablo right now on the new consoles on the consoles. So they definitely...
That's kind of a crazy thing that ever happened. 10 years ago, talking about Diablo on a console, that's not a thing.
Well, even like 3 years ago, talking about Diablo, period, with such a rough launch, I don't think that game was as popular as it is now. I think right now, within this last 6 months or whatever, the game is way more popular than it was before.
Yeah, they took a lot of steps with the expansion pack that came out to fix the things that were kind of wrong with the original launch.
Mm-hmm. And then the third point, I don't even remember. I had another point that I wanted to make, but to go on my second point, you mentioned that if they wanted to be make a first-person shooter or something like that, that's kind of what got me thinking about this. Maybe because I play, shooters and RTSs and other things that are not necessarily. I don't play a lot of RPGs, and that's just not where I get as much enjoyment. And that could be where all this is coming from. I'd still would, even if they took something with StarCraft and did something new. I feel like that would be something better than what they are doing right now. Where Hearthstone, yes, that's new, but it's such. I think I'd be more impressed with a larger scale game, and that's probably just my preference coming out of it. Not trying to. I mean, Hearthstone. I wish it was on the Android.
I think the thing about Hearthstone that you got to remember is World of Warcraft is kind of their main, like, hey, this is freaking huge. I think they were specifically looking for a game that people could play more casually or, like, quickly, I guess. Not casually, because Hearthstone players can get super into that, and that can be super complicated. I mean, it's a strategy card game, so think about that. Have you played a lot of Hearthstone? Have you played any Hearthstone?
I've played a little bit of it, but I have it on the computer. I might play more of it if I had it on like a tablet or something like that. But
yeah, like I think that game nails the small playtime session thing pretty well. And if I did have an iPad and was able to play that, I think that it would be problematic to getting other games played, because that would be my default toilet slash watching TV game. So yeah, we can probably move on from the Blizzard conversation. I wanted to mention real quick that this week another Xbox One game came out that seems super appealing to me. It's called D4. It's another game made by Swery, who, namely for recognition on the show, he is a Japanese developer who had the studio that created Deadly Premonition, which is the Twin Peaks as heck Microsoft game.
Okay.
And it sounds like this is obviously not as Twin Peaks inspirational, but it seems like it draws from the same kind of well. I was listening to Bombing in the AM at Scoops and the Wolf at our sister site Giant Bomb, and the way that Alex Navarro was describing this game, it sounded like such a Michael game. He described it as having all of the weird, awesome stuff from Deadly Premonition, which basically feels like the Twin Peaks well, as if he were trying to make a David Cage game, which, if you remember last year, David Cage made Beyond Two Souls, which was, I loved Beyond Two Souls more than the average person. And I think that D4 sounds like something I would really like. So, I am saving up towards an Xbox One. We've mentioned this on the show before. That sounds like a game that I should definitely try. There was a review put up at Polygon, which reviewers tend to do really bad puns, we'll say. And the review headline for D4 was Fire Walk with D, which is an obvious Twin Peaks reference to those that don't know. So that obviously grabbed my attention. So I really, really, really wish I had an Xbox One right now and was able to play that game, because it really sounds like my type of game. We mentioned before, like, there are types of games that you just think appeal to you at kind of a core level, and this game sounds like a Michael game to me.
Okay. Well, plug it away. Getting that Xbox One. The only thing that I'm really got right now looking on the Xbox One is Master Chief Collection, so I think you're...
Which I do think I will get that. I do think that is more of a you thing than a me thing, but I do think that I'll definitely enjoy. I enjoy playing the campaign in Halo games. Halo is one of the few shooters left that I still enjoy for its base mechanics alone. Like, I think playing Halo is more fun than playing Call of Duty or other shooters. I think it involves more strategy, which I think just involves my head a little more. It's not just a shooting gallery. There's more to it than that, which interests me. Like I said, I don't like the story in Halo, but I'm still able to enjoy Halo because I think the campaigns are super fun, and they're all co-op, which I love a good co-op game that you can jump into with friends at any point. So right now, the main things that I think I would want on Xbox One are D4 and that game. And then ultimately, Quantum Break. That's the one I'm really excited for.
Sunset Overdrive?
Oh, Sunset Overdrive. That looks like it could be potentially fun. I'm not sure all the way, but yeah, I'm definitely interested. It looks fun in the way that, like, Infamous would be fun, as opposed to something that I might like on a more intellectual level, like D4.
You can't have everything intellectually.
No. Well, I mean, Infamous is dumb fun. I don't think... well, the first one is kind of more than that, but I think that especially 2 and Second Son are more just kind of dumb. Not that the story is completely throwaway, but that's not the main draw. The main draw is being awesome, superpowered, and city.
You can buy Spelunky again on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I have Spelunky on the Vita, and sometimes I think about playing it, and then I play Danganronpa.
I played a little bit of it, actually. I was not doing super hot. I was doing very badly. Yeah, it was not. It was not good. It was not good.
Okay, I wanted to also. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I died in like the first room on like my first try.
Nice.
So
I was just gonna say that I really want to download the demo for Super Smash Brothers. This week, Hyrule Warriors releases.
yeah, I'm not gonna play that.
As someone that just on the show mentioned that I like Zelda games, at no point did this game ever seem interesting to me because it's Dynasty Warriors and not a Zelda game. So, sure, if the reviews come out and they're like, yeah, this is way better than Dynasty Warriors, then I'll be potentially interested as someone that owns a Wii U and would like more games on it. But it's Dynasty Warriors, so I don't think it will be. Mm-hmm. There's something else coming up soon-ish that I thought I was interested in. That's it. Shadows of Mordor comes out, I think, next week. Is that it?
I don't know
or 2
when.
Weeks.
I don't know when it comes out.
I'll look it up. I have some of this stuff on my calendar. So
Hashtag Orc
let's see.
Takeover.
The Weezer album. Yes, Weezer. Shadow of Mordor is the 7th of October, so that's like 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks. Yeah, I think that's like 2 weeks.
Yes. Super Smash Bros. On the 3DS comes out the 3rd of October.
I think that's next week.
Yes. Yeah, next Friday.
Okay. Friday release.
Yeah. So Nintendo always does Friday releases. Yeah, they're doing Hyrule Warriors on Friday, and they're always different. Actually, no. I say always. They do Sunday releases as well. So they always do weird releases, but not always Friday.
Okay. I
remember getting Super Smash Brothers Brawl on Sunday before church or after church one day, and just like, why in the world are they releasing games on a Sunday? This is so weird. But yeah, they do.
Because they're Nintendo and they can.
Real quick, we got an email this week. Yeah, they kind of can. We got an email this week, and if I can find my email box, which I think I just got rid of. Oh, here we go. This is from William. And if you want to email us here on the show, we'll if you want us to, we can read your questions on the air, answer them. You can email us at thecultureofmypeople@gmail.com. That is thecultureofmypeople@gmail.com. And William asks, what is the worst video game you guys have ever played? He also loves our hashtag shows, he says. What is the worst video game you've ever played, Drewby?
Well, I've played a lot of video games.
Don't troll me and say Dark Souls or something.
No, Dark Souls is really good. That's a good game. I'm thinking on the PC. I wouldn't be on the PC. It's probably some old game that I've forgotten. Nothing. I'm drawing a blank. Nothing's really coming to mind. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, so here's a funnier statistic that I always like to bring up. The worst game I have ever fully completed, not full completed, but beaten, Critical Path, was, heck darn it, the Devil May Cry 2. That game is complete and utter poop. It's hot garbage. And I beat it all the way through on a chain marathon. I was trying to get to beat DMC when that came out. I got the collection, the trilogy, and was playing through those games in order to get. I ended up not playing DMC for moral reasons, but Devil May Cry 2 is garbage. That game is really crappy. Go ahead.
I think I remember you talking about that when you were going through. Because you were actually going through the Devil May Cry games.
Yeah, and I beat the first one, which is old and kind of janky, but ultimately I think, especially if you go back in time, hey, this is cool, this is awesome. Some parts of this game even hold up now. And then I played Devil May Cry 2, and yeah, there's some cool stuff you can do, you can wall run, and that's kind of it. And the whole game, it feels like an early access game that needs 3 more months, and they could have fixed crap. But yeah, that wasn't. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off the deep end. But Devil May Cry 2 is a garbage game. To answer the question of what is the worst video game I've ever played, I want to say that I've probably played something crappier on PC that I don't remember, or maybe a Game Boy game from when I was super little. But I remember buying from a garage sale a game called Tonic Trouble for the Nintendo 64. GameSpot.com gave that game a 2.0. It is a 3D action platformer in the vein of Donkey Kong 64 or Mario 64, in which you play a character that is a spy or something, and you're trying to rescue the world from a witch who poisoned everybody. Or I don't remember. Because I'm getting that confused with Donkey Kong. It's not a witch. It's a really stupid game. Tonic Trouble. It was like a really crappy Donkey Kong 64.
Okay. I'm thinking if I had to choose one, I played there's a game on my DS. I was trying to play a Call of Duty shooter, and so I bought Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare for the Nintendo DS. That game was not. It controlled like the Metroid game where you had to use the stick to navigate to look around. That wasn't the best. 64 games. I know I've played junk before. I can't think of much though right now. Let me see. I'm thinking of the systems that I've had. Maybe I just block out all the bad and remember the good, because I can think of some good stuff off of the systems that I've played. I don't know.
Let's save that for another podcast. Oh, wait, here we go.
There's a Wario game that I played on the Game Boy that I didn't necessarily like. I think it was like Wario Land 3 or something like that.
That's a cool game.
I don't like it. I didn't play that much.
I like these games.
I was little though, so I mean, it was probably just like, or I was younger. Let's put it that way. I was younger. I was not necessarily as smart in the ways of video games.
Yeah, I don't think that's probably a bad game as much as you didn't want to play it. I think that's actually kind of like a Metroid-y Mario. Like, it's a Metroid platformer where there's like secrets where you go back and get different items, so you can access new areas. Like, I could see why someone that is younger may not like that game if they don't know what's going on.
See, I played games that I haven't liked, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call them like bad games. They probably just weren't. They just weren't necessarily for me. Like I had a copy of Metroid Prime 2 for the GameCube. And I got far in that game. I quit that game because I got this feeling of being lonely and being alone in that world, and so I just stopped playing it because I didn't like that.
Also a bad game. A Bug's Life for the Game Boy Color. I had that. It was a bad game. Really crappy.
I had
it just did not work.
I had a Zelda game for the original Game Boy that I played on my Game Boy Advance.
Would that have been Link's Awakening?
Yeah, I think it was Link's Awakening.
Yeah, that's like one of the hardest Zelda games that exists, because that game actually has an ability for you to like get 10, 15, 20 hours in and completely hose yourself and have to restart the game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like that's one of the Blake, friend of the site, sometimes co-host, has beat that game, and that's one of like his achievements, because that's one of the hardest Zelda games there is.
I loaned that game to a guy at church, and he went through, and I think he beat the game.
Nice.
Back in the day, I never beat it. So
cool. So as we're drawing to a close, Drewby,
yo,
how can people find you on the greater internet?
As opposed to the lesser internet?
As opposed to the LAN. How can they find you on the WAN?
On the WAN, Twitter.com/Drewby132. Follow me on Twitter. From there's a link to my Google Plus profile. Click on that, and you can follow me on that as well. It's Facebook.com/Drewby132. You can find me on there as well, and also keep an eye out here on the site, theculturemypeople.com. Also, you can email us, theculturemypeople@gmail.com, if you feel so inclined, or if you have a question for us. So those be my digits, kind of.
No, my name is Michael Nip. You can find me at twitter.com/MichaelNip, MichaelKnipp, or facebook.com/TheRealMichaelNip. You already gave the email address, so I guess if this is also an audio podcast. If you're watching this on video, then you may not know this. If you're listening to this on audio, we also have a YouTube channel. You find us under The Culture of My People. Or go to theculturemypeople.com, and that's where you can find the audio podcast. I really did not think this out. Anyway, we're on iTunes for our audio podcast. So if you have an Apple device and you want to subscribe to us there, subscribing to us and giving us a positive review there helps us when it comes to being able to try to keep this thing going, because it allows us to potentially get sponsors. So that's useful if you give us a 5-star rating on there. If you are an Android user, we recommend BeyondPod. They do not sponsor us, but they might as well, as we both use that app regularly to listen to our myriad of podcasts. Aside from that, I think that's all the housekeeping we got. So until next time, play video games, enjoy the world of video games without being an insufferable jerk like sometimes we see on the internet. So this has been me, Michael Nip, and my co-host
Drewby.